everyone, and welcome to Knits by Náyla, or what I was thinking of calling Náyla's Knitting Corner. Today is June 1st, and I will be doing today a knitting podcast. So from my last video, I'm actually filming this one before I edited the first one. I don't know why, but I'm a little bit intimidated by editing, even though I don't think it will be so bad, but hopefully these will both come out within a relatively close to each other, but not too close order, and not so long that, you know, I filmed in May and June and they don't come out until July. But we'll see. Today I'm wearing my totally tank top test knit for DearJamieDesignsCo. It's a beautiful racerback style, excuse the bra straps, tank top, and I made this in Ritual Dye's Undine base in the color Jewelweed. I started this test knit, I believe, oh yes. So I started this test knit on April 28th, and I finished it on May 8th. The deadline for it was May 4th, but Jessie May was, you know, accommodating. This was kind of my first project working with a fingering weight yarn, and I underestimated A, how long it would take, and B, the amount of pain that I would feel in my hands from working on needles so small. Overall, it was about a week, maybe like 10 days or less, somewhere around then. So it was a relatively quick project, but it was a bit hard on my hands with needles so small. But I loved this pattern. I loved the test knit. I was so excited that I got to test the pattern for her. I think I mentioned in my last video that on the armholes, I bound off originally with a stretchy bind off, and then it made everything kind of like wonky. So after I blocked it, I did undo the bind off and then do just regular knit bind off, and that made it much more, I guess, elegant. It made it a cleaner finish. I think I definitely have plans to make this again. But I think that if I did make again, the only change that I would make, in addition to lengthening it, because I did lengthen it already on this test knit. Originally, she calls for it to be knit to about 7 inches, and I went to like 10 or 11 inches just so that it would at least kind of hit my belly button or midriff. The only other change I would make if I knit this again is to do the 2x2 ribbing on the neckline, as opposed to this stockinette that just kind of rolls up. I do like this because it is something different, but I think the ribbing would look great too, so I would like to try that out. Okay, so since the last time I filmed, I do have 2 finished objects since then. The first one is the I believe it's Yarnspirations Lacy baby blanket that I was knitting in Bernat Softee baby in the color pale blue. I did finish that, and I actually have already passed it over to my boss. That was a commission for her for a baby shower gift. So I don't have it with me today to share, but I will insert a couple of pictures that I have. I took one picture laid out fully of it unblocked, another picture after I blocked it or washed it, and then I took a couple photos of me packaging it up with my little logo tag. Thank you, Dear Jamie Designs, for that logo. Link to her Etsy and Instagram in the bio. But yeah, so I packaged it up. I just used a what is it called? Organza bag that I purchased from Amazon a couple of months ago, maybe like 6 months ago. I thought I got like a set of like 25 or something Amazon organza bags from Amazon. I thought they would make nice project bags, and I have been using them a lot. I use them as project bags, and then I also use them to store like yarn scraps whenever I've like finished with a project or something like that. But it's also convenient for packing up gifts that I've made. I've actually packed, I think 3 of them. I did maybe more. I did a couple sweaters for Christmas, and what is it called? A vest, the Open Trails vest by Ashley Lillis. I did that in November for my cousin, Allie. We both are November babies, hashtag Scorpio. Her birthday is the 17th and mine is the 21st. So we're just a few days apart, even though I'm a couple years older than her. So yes, the organza bags makes nice gifts, and I packaged my Lacy baby blanket up in that. So my boss, when she asked me to make the blanket, she wanted something kind of like lightweight, airy, lacy for the gift. She did also want it to be about 45 by 50 inches. So that's what I was trying to knit towards and get it as big as I could before the deadline. So she told me previously that the baby shower was going to be on May 20th, and so I finished it the Friday before May 20th, and then I had to block it, and I was going to drop it off to her that Friday, but you know, we both had conflicting schedules, and she was like, oh, just give it to me, you know, the next time we come into work, because she preferred not to give it at the baby shower so she could have a one-on-one with her brother and his wife, to pass the gift and have it kind of mean, you know, a little bit more outside of the chaos of baby shower day, which I thought was nice. Even though I pushed and pushed and pushed to finish it before the 19th, I thought it was a good idea to give it, you know, at a later time so they could have a more personal moment with something that like took, you know, a lot of love and care and thought. Yeah, so I definitely would use that yarn again for any kind of quick project, or a project where I'm looking for the yarn not to be so expensive. The Bernat Softee Baby is a pretty soft yarn. I picked that because it had first of all, the gauge matched what was called for in the pattern. B, it was inexpensive. C, it was machine washable, and I thought for a new mom, first time mom, having something, you know, that if the baby spits up on it, you can throw it in the wash and it be fine. I thought that was really important, and also to just keep the cost low since it was my first commission piece. But overall, my boss was so pleased with it. She was so excited. And I hope that maybe when the baby's born, I get to see a photo of the baby wrapped up in the blanket. But yes, so that's that. My second finished object I actually have here with me. And I believe I mentioned in the previous video that this was the second test knit. Well, I guess technically the third. My first test knit was the Tulsa Tee by the Crayabea, Rebecca Clow. The second test knit was the Totally Tank by Jessie Maed. And then at the same time that I was accepted for the Totally Tank by Jessie Maed, I also was accepted for the mini mock neck tank test knit. And so in the span of me filming and finishing that last video, I have both cast on and completely finished my mini mock neck tank. Ignore the wrinkles. It was folded. But yes, so this is made in the Wandering Flock Baby Paca in the color Electric Orchid. I cast this on May 21st. So I think I finished, oh yes, I finished the baby blanket May 19th, and then I gave my hands like a day break. But I was like itching to cast something on, and also the deadline for this was coming up soon, so I cast this on May 21st. And the Wandering Flock Baby Paca, this was my first time using this yarn. We also received as testers 20% off from the Wandering Flock for that base in order to participate. You could Of course, you could use whatever yarn you want, but this was the suggested yarn in the pattern. I've been eyeing the Wandering Flock for a long time and wanted to try something out, so I thought, what better time? I just can't get over this color. Oh, so good. So this was also a relatively quick knit for me. Let's see. I finished the shoulder shaping by the 23rd, so 2 days. Joined on the body on the 24th. Finished the body on the 28th. Started the neckline on the 29th. Yeah, and I finished everything on the 29th. And submitted the tester feedback that day. This has a 1x1 rib on the bottom and also on the neckline. It's a higher neck, excuse that unweaved in N, a higher mock neck. She does give you options, like if you don't want the as high of a mock neck, I believe she calls for a certain length. I knitted a little bit smaller, but just like a ½ inch smaller because I am a little bit sensitive to things on my neck. Not that this is perfectly soft on my neck, but in general, I don't like my neck to be too covered. I am a sweater. So it often like starts at my neck and then you'll start to see sweat stains, you know, so I just wanted to avoid that if possible. I really like the construction of this because she did something that I've never done before. So while you're knitting, you start in the back, knit the back panel essentially, and then you connect and keep going for the front, and then you join in the round. But she did a cool thing is that, I don't know if you can see, the ribbing on the side was done at the same time as you were essentially building the back panel and the front panel. You didn't, it's not like you were on the totally tank pattern. You do all the stockinette portions first, and then once everything is finished, including the body, then you go back and do the ribbing for the armhole. In this case, you did not do that, and I like that because it allows for the ribbing to be vertical as opposed to the horizontal ribbing on here. And then the other part I liked is that when you cast on for the underarm stitches, you also continue that kind of ribbed effect. Instead of going straight into your stockinette, you do a certain number of rows of the ribbing effect on the under the arm as well. And again, that saves you from having to do the entire armhole ribbing later. And so after because you did it that way, after you finish the body, the only ribbing that you have to go back and pick up for is for the neckline. So yes, this is my mini mock neck tank. This is alpaca. I don't know, I don't have my label with me, but yeah, it's called the Baby Paca base. It is so soft. It was such fun to work with. Occasionally it was a little splitty. I have one long end to weave in. I don't know if you can see. So it's kind of, I guess you would call it a roving style yarn. Oh, and I have the ball here. Oh, and the label somewhere in there, but yeah. I think it's called a roving style because there's no ply. It's just the singular strand. So occasionally it was split a little bit if I was moving too fast, but it, you know, you just slow down or you pay attention, make sure you catch the whole kind of loop before you go ahead. I used in total, I did the size 6 or the 2X, and I used in total 568 yards. So I bought 2 skeins. They are, they're 400 yards each. 400 yards each, and I used not all of the second skein. I could probably make something else with this, but I don't know what yet, because I think I have 232 yards left from when I waited. I didn't necessarily meet gauge. I met the stitch gauge, but not the row gauge. I believe in the pattern she calls for 24 by 28, 24 stitches by 24 stitches by 28 rows. I had, after blocking, 24 stitches by 31 rows. And the pattern, I believe, calls for 3.5 millimeter needles for the body, and I think, is it 2.75 on the ribbing. But I did not realize until I was until I was almost done with the back join. I don't know what made me look, but I realized that one of my needles was 3.5 millimeter and the other was 3.75. So I think that maybe had something to contribute to why my row gauge was a little bit off, but I still met the measurements of the pattern overall. Again, only adjustment I did was to lengthen it. And I still have that end to weave in, but it's so cute. I can't wait to wear it. I'll try to insert some pictures, maybe a little video that I took of me wearing this before and after blocking. But yeah, I think this would be one of my favorite patterns, and I definitely would knit in this yarn again because it is just so soft, and I can't even imagine having a full sweater in this. And just the vibrancy of that color, the electric orchid, is just too good. And I also like, I don't know if you can see, but it kind of has, you can see the shades of like pink and like more lavendery within it. So it's not stripy, but it's almost like heathered with pink and purple. I don't know, I love it. So that is that. Those are my only finished objects. And like I said, I finished this on the 29th. And then moving on to WIPs, I believe that I mentioned in the last video that my sister commissioned me to make her an outfit for her engagement photos. And she originally gave me a deadline of the end of May. And so I've been working, you know, on that in between the mini mock neck test. I've been working on the engagement set project. When we originally spoke, she wanted it to be, she mentioned that she liked my crochet items. So she wanted something in crochet. She didn't want it to be revealing. You know, she said mother-in-law approved because her mother-in-law will see the photos. She wanted it in red, yellow, and green for the colors of her fiance's home country, their flag. And the other thing she mentioned was that she wanted maybe a ruffle on the sleeves, like the wedding dress of Bliss from Love is Blind. So I've been working on that. As I said, I did order, I ordered from Lion Brand. They had a 30% off the 24/7 cotton, which I think, yeah, I have one here with the label still on it. So the 24/7 cotton, this color is grass. And I got one in red. I think I took all of the red out of here. And also in yellow, which, yeah, so the red is just called red. And then the yellow that I used is called Goldenrod. Yeah, and it is kind of a golden yellow. But yeah, I like the yarn so far. It's a chainette cotton, and it's been easy to work with so far. No splitting. I wanted I went with this kind of cotton because whatever I made her, I wanted to have some stretch. She's a pretty curvy girl. I don't know if thin is the right word. I guess she's thinner, but she has hips. She has curves. So I wanted something that would, you know, stretch and move with her body, not be too hot. She's planning to take engagement photos in a tropical location. So I wanted something that would fit that. So I haven't made anything with ruffles previously with crochet. And so I did have to do a little bit of YouTube research, tutorials. There were a couple items that I found for skirts with ruffles, tops with ruffles, dresses with like an off the shoulder kind of thing. One video that I found was by Chinda DIY, and she made a really beautiful top that had like the top almost had like a sweetheart neckline, and then a ruffle that, an off the shoulder ruffle that like started from the sweetheart and like goes off the shoulders. And so I kind of combined a little bit of that with just like a basic tube to go around her bust. So this is my first sample. None of the ends are woven in, so don't judge me. Oh. Yeah. Okay. So it still needs work. And it's hard to show on camera, but this is the first sample. And then the sleeves kind of, the sleeves are kind of meant to sit off your shoulder. Like that. And so I didn't do any shaping originally when I just made like basically a tube of half double crochet that should fit over her bust. And then I ruched in the center and like sewed it together. And then I followed Chinda DIY's, her instructions for the shoulder strap. The challenge I'm finding with trying to do a project for someone else just based off their measurements is that I'm used to, especially with crochet, and because most of the time when I crochet, I'm usually looking at a YouTube video or essentially self-drafting. I'm not following a pattern like I would for something that was knitted, that has exact, you know, stitch count, etc. Most of the crochet tutorials on YouTube are, oh, chain to your body width. And so while that's good in theory, and while that does work, most of the projects that I've made doing something in that manner, I'm able to try them on myself, or if I'm making them, you know, for someone else. Most of the time, if I'm crocheting something, I'm crocheting for my sister that lives with me. And I can just, oh, hey, can you try this on? And most of the other people in my family that I would crochet something for, or my friends, have a similar body type to my sister, Victoria, that lives here. And so I'm kind of okay with, you know, maybe I have their measurements, maybe I don't, but I'm okay with comparing it to Victoria's build and shape. But Kayla has a larger bust and larger hips than Victoria, and she also is much, much taller. I believe she's maybe anywhere between, she might be like 5'9", I don't know. She's a very tall, beautiful, gorgeous girl, long legs, nice curves, love her. So when I tried this on Victoria, it was of course too big, but it's not done to Victoria's measurements. So that shook me a little bit, seeing it, you know, and not really being able to gauge, especially for something like the straps, not being able to gauge whether the straps are long enough, too long. On Kayla will be too long for Kayla, using Tori as a guidance because Tori doesn't have the bust or the shoulders, you know, or the height that Kayla will. So yeah, this first sample I think is going well, but I just have to try it again and fine tune it. Is that how you say that? Let me actually show you my little sketch that I drew. So yes, like I said, she mentioned she wanted, she wanted an off-the-shoulder type of ruffle. She doesn't want too much skin showing at the midriff. And then for the skirt, I was thinking, you know, a nice kind of form-fitted skirt, nothing too tight where she can't move around, and then maybe a ruffle around the bottom of the skirt. Excuse my club feet drawing. But yeah, some kind of ruffle, you know, kind of like, what are they called? Mermaids or trumpet style dress. So yeah, it's going. I did, now the skirt, oh yeah, so the top is and then I tried the skirt. I did a nice crochet back loop only ribbing, and then I did a simple row of single crochet after the ribbing, and then I went into half double crochet for the red part. And I also was increasing at a certain point. So the green ribbing I did to half of her waist measurement. Then the red, I started increasing on the sides. I don't want the seam to be in the back because with crochet, I don't really like the way the seam looks, and I'm still trying to figure out like how exactly you do the most invisible seam. So I figured it would just be easier to have it on the side where it's like hidden under her arm. You know, if she takes pictures from the back, you're not gonna see a line straight down her butt. So yeah, this was going very well, but then I had my cousin Zoe try it on, who, while she doesn't have the bust and really the hips that Kayla does, Zoe has the same waist measurement, and she has similar height to Kayla. And so I had her just pull it on, and it was way too tight. I was like debating whether I had started increasing enough or doing enough rapid increases to get from her waist measurement to her hip measurement, which is like 10 inches different. But yeah, definitely did not. And also I think the green waistband is just too small in general. So then I was thinking, well, maybe I should just do the red part first and add the waistband ribbing later. So I started just kind of another tube that will be a skirt instead of a top. Half double crochet. This time I did starting at her hip measurement, and just round and round and round. And I was not doing any increases. I wouldn't need to, given that we're already at her hip measurement. I don't think I need to do any decreases as well, at least not, you know, through her hips, through her thighs. The one skirt pattern that I was watching on YouTube, which I'll link both the Chinda DIY and the skirt tutorial that I looked at. The skirt tutorial I looked at was an asymmetrical skirt with a ruffle, and so once the maker got to the length of the skirt they desired, what they started doing was just decreasing on like either decreasing at 2 points essentially, and then turning back and forth instead of continuing in the round, so that as the skirt lengthens, it kind of just grows asymmetrically, kind of like a triangle almost. So yeah, I started that, but I don't know. Again, I was saying I'm figuring out this seam, and somehow I think when I started, you see how it's kind of like dipping there? I think that somehow when I started, because I started from this end, of course, I think I was mistakenly like increasing or something. I have to be more careful about like where you, when you're working in the round with crochet, what is the actual last stitch that you crochet into, and then where you slip stitching into to close that round. And then when you start the next round, which I was doing this and I was turning after my slip stitch. But yeah, somehow it's like, it was expanding out, but then later, I think when I started paying more attention to it, it stopped doing that. So if you look even from a side view, let me see. Can you see that? Where I started flares out, and then when I was paying more attention, it almost looks as if I was decreasing. If I held it from like where I started down, it looks like I was decreasing. So I don't know. I don't know what I did. So this made me think that maybe I should just knit it flat. I mean, crochet it flat and then seam it at the end. So I have to redo the top and essentially start the skirt over. So yeah, that's that. But I think it will come out, you know, it will come out nice. It's just a matter of figuring out how I want it to be. Because again, I don't really have a pattern. I have some videos that I'm going off of, but I'm kind of incorporating aspects of that into my own making. And originally she did say she wanted this by the end of May, but obviously we've passed that. But I reached out to her and she was saying that she hadn't, you know, actually booked the photo shoot yet, so I had a little bit more time. She's actually going to be coming into town towards the end of June, so I have a few more weeks to figure it out, practice, and then also hopefully I'll get to try it on her, and if I need to adjust anything, you know, before she leaves town, I can do that, because since it's such a special event that she wants it for, a special moment in her life, I, you know, really want it to be what she wants. So with that said, I finished my mock neck tank. I started and hit some walls with the crochet project, but of course, you know, idle hands. I wanted to work on something else, but I couldn't really decide what I wanted to cast on. I do have a couple of options. One of them is my other sister, Brittany. Her birthday was May 19th, and we did get her some gifts, but I included in her gift the option between having me make something having me make the totally tank top, or having me make a mini mock neck for her. And part of the options are part of my acquisitions. So I gave her two choices. I gave her the option of having it done in this purple colorway, color 6029 in the Circulo and yarn. And then her other option was color 5745 eucalyptus in the Circulo amigurumi yarn. And these are both recent acquisitions for me from my trip to Houston. While I was in Houston, I made a trip to the Pearly Girl yarn shop. I think it's in Spring, Texas, I'm not sure. Unfortunately, that store is closing, which I was not aware of when I visited. I had such a good time in the store. even when I walked in, they recognized I had just finished my Totally tank top, so I wore this in the store with a nice waffle shirt button down over top, and immediately they were like, did you make that? And I'm like, yeah, I made it. And she's like, what pattern is that? I'm like, oh, it's the Totally tank. She's like, I want to make that. And I'm like, oh, you should. And actually, I want to make another one. So can you show me some yarn? So she showed me a couple of options. And I guess I should just show these acquisitions while I'm talking about them. And so, like I said, I got the Amigurumi Circulo mercerized cotton, 254 meters, 278 yards. It's a DK weight. It's listed as DK, but and the Totally tank was fingering weight. The mini mock neck was sport weight. And so I'm like, either of those, show me what like cotton or plant fiber options that you have in those. The Circulo and yarn is 547 yards, 500 meters. Does it say what weight? 100% mercerized Brazilian virgin cotton. The gauge is 20 stitches by 26 rows. So I think that's probably DK as well. So yes, I have those two options. And then the third item I got from there is this universal, I think it's universal yarn in bamboo pop, 50% cotton, 50% bamboo, 100 grams, 266 meters or 292 yards. This is also DK weight, 20 stitches, 26 rows. It's so soft and squishy. Call the label first. Bamboo pop. Ooh, and this color perfectly matches my nails, which are Nail Thoughts and Cocoas collection Isla Vista. This is really a perfect match. So, and that's a good thing because this one will be mine. This will be mine, whether it's another Totally tank or a mini mock neck. So yeah, I'm excited for all of those yarns. My last item from Pearly Girl Yarn Studio is this is Suburban Stitcher Pure Sock, 100% superwash merino, 438 yards and 100 grams in the color Sweet Pea. Suburban Stitcher, Pure Sock, Sweet Pea. And look at this color. Isn't that gorgeous? So I think I'll do a pair of socks in this. I only got one skein, whereas I got two of everything else. My dad actually helped me pick this out. He went to the store with me and I'm like, okay, which one do you think I would make? And I think I might have said out of these three, and so he picked a couple of options, but one was a little bit darker than I was thinking, and this was the second option he picked. So I'm like, oh, we can agree on that, and I got that. So pausing on that, like I was saying, I was trying to figure out what I was going to cast on next, and I gave my sister Brittany these two options, which are such great colors. But what's funny is that when I saw this in store, I immediately thought of my sister Brittany, and I also immediately thought of the mini mock neck tank, because it kind of has that high neck. It's cropped, and she, like, that fits her style and her body type really well. And so on her birthday, we actually all went out to the movies. Her birthday is May 19th. We all went out to the movies to see the new Fast 10 movie, which we had a great time, but we were a Fast family. We love those movies. But in her gift bag with the other gifts that we got, I printed out the Totally tank top picture as well as the mini mock neck picture from Jessie May. And I put both of these yarns in the bag and I'm like, you choose, what do you want? And she actually picked this green in the mini mock neck, and I'm like, oh, I knew it and I know you. So that will be one of my next cast-ons, but given that I had just finished, well, at the time that I gave her that option, I was still working on my test knit, and then, or no, I hadn't even started it yet, because I gave her the option on the 19th. I started my test knit on the 21st, but when I finished my test knit, I was like, should I cast this on now? But I had just finished it. I think my hands need a break from that small size, so I wasn't sure. So I was looking back through all of that yarn that I got from Wool Walk, including this Sandnes Garn Line in ice blue. It's a nice color. I think I got this to make either the Ingrid top by Gregoria Fibers or the Thea top. Forgive me for not remembering her name. I'll link both of those patterns in the description. So I don't know if I wanted to do that as my next cast on, or start working on the berets that I got yarn for. This is the Drops Baby Merino in color 33. The berets that I mentioned that I wanted to make for my aunt and her friends for their trip to Paris in July. So yeah, I was torn between what I wanted to do. I think a little bit of decision paralysis, given that I've been making so many decisions, so many deadlines, so many, you know, projects that were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right, you know, smack dab together. I didn't really know what I wanted to do next. And so I remembered that I actually had started, and I think, let me see when I started. Oh, April 1st, I had started a freehand cardigan, kind of not going off a pattern, but essentially I just planned to make like back panel, 2 side panels, connect them, knit sleeves in the round cardigan, and I wanted to do that. I've been watching a lot lately, the Kopi Kali dolls, Kahila, Kalila, and Malika. And Malika has been doing a lot of freehand, I don't know what I don't call it challenges, but I guess she was challenging herself to make something without a pattern. And so I was like, oh, why don't I do the same thing? And I've been wanting like just a regular, simple, classic cardigan that I can wear, you know, in the office, at home, on an everyday basis, just when I need a little bit of something on my shoulders, you know, especially in the summer. I'm probably going to be in a lot of tank tops and short sleeves, but like in the evenings it gets chilly, or if you go to the movies, which we're in the movies all the time, it gets chilly. And so I had the Caron Blossom Cakes in the color Denim Daze. Here it is. I don't have my ball band anymore. Isn't this so beautiful? It's like all these different shades of blue. They're kind of heathered, so it both has like a fade and like each is like heathered. It's a chainette or blown yarn, and it's a cotton blend. I don't have my ball band, so I can't tell you exactly what the blend is, but I believe it's mostly cotton, probably acrylic. But it's so soft and it's so light, and I don't know, it seems like it'll be worn because it does have, I don't know if you can see like the halo around it, but yeah, so I started on April 1st. This is my back panel. I have 2x2 ribbing. And isn't that just so cool? It's like self-striping, self-fading yarn. And so I didn't want to just do like just a straight up and down rectangle. So I did attempt some shaping on on either side for the armholes. So I did, I think up to like here, I decreased every row, and then I did decreases every other row, and now I'm no longer decreasing just until it like reached my shoulder. So I kind of want this to go from my hips to my shoulder. So I basically, I didn't do a gauge swatch, but I just went by the gauge on the ball band, which is 17 stitches by 26 row per 4 inches on 5mm needles. When I kind of took my measurements and stuff, I wanted a 48-inch circumference. So for my back panel, I figured that would need to be about 24 inches wide. Doing the math on that, I needed 102 stitches to cast on, but since I wanted the 2x2 rib on the bottom, I cast on 104 stitches for the back panel so that I could end on a P2. Then I just knit until I had 2 inches of ribbing on 4.5mm, and then I switched to my 5mm and did stockinette. So knit 1 row, purl 1 row, until I got to the decreases. And on when you're on the right side, I mean the stockinette side, I did SSK for the, I guess the left leaning decrease, yes. Going towards my left is left leaning, going towards my right is right leaning. So SSK for my left leaning decrease, knit 2 together for my right leaning decrease. And like I said, I decreased until I essentially, every other row until I had like a steep enough curve, I guess. And then every other row just to add a little bit more height and like lessen or soften the curve, if you can see that. Like a steep curve for right where your underarm is, and then a less curve for like towards the back, and then straight up just to add the length that I needed to get to have the full panel measure what I want, which I think I stopped at about 24 inches, and then I just did a regular bind off. And then I started, I believe last night, my front body panel, and I cast on 26 stitches. And I've actually already messed up because I was supposed to switch from the 4.5 needle to the 5mm, and I realized today that I did not. But I'm not ripping, even though it's not that many rows. Sorry, Maya from Feeling Froggy Knits, but I'm like spiritually opposed to frogging. Which reminds me, funnily enough, on my mini mock neck, when I was starting the body, was it the body? I think so, it wasn't on the neck. Yeah, when I was starting the body ribbing, which for my size is over 200 stitches on the body, I did, and I was knitting in the park. It was a beautiful day. If I have a clip, I will insert it. I did the first round of the ribbing, but I was like, oh, my hand's kind of hurting. Let me see if I can hold my yarn a different way and do the ribbing. So I did that. Normally, I guess what you call this English throw, when I'm knitting, I hold my yarn in my right hand, and I'm like, I take my hands off the needle to wrap the yarn and then pull it through. I don't hold it in my left hand and just like flick it over. I think that's called flicking. I don't do that. So what I was trying to do is hold it in my right hand with my pointer finger and then wrap. I don't know if that's also called flicking, but I was trying to hold it essentially like this and then wrap it that way. And it was working. I did pretty well, but it's so unusual for me that I'm like, oh, okay, it's taking too long. I'm gonna just do it the way I normally do it. And so I did the whole row the unusual way to me. And then the second row of the ribbing, well, before I even started the second row, when I was ending the row, I'm like, why do I have 2 knit stitches instead of knit purl? Like the last stitch is supposed to be a purl. My last stitch was a knit. I'm like, something's not right. And so then I started reading the stitches, you know, before I started the next round. And sure enough, like my 4th stitch at the start of the round, I did 2 purls instead of knit purl. And so that messed up the entire row around this very wide 200 stitch circumference. So I don't know what I was thinking. I was like, well, I'm not gonna pull it out. I didn't want to have to pick up, I don't know. I didn't want to have to pick up all those stitches and potentially drop something. So instead I decided to just start my second round, and then as I started my second round, each stitch that I came to, I would drop it and then pick it up the right way, and then do my second round of the ribbing. And so I eventually was like, I would try and do like unpick and redo 10 at a time, and then slide them back on the needle, and then continue this round 2 of the ribbing, and then do 10 more, and then just back and forth I was going. And then by the time I looked at the clock, I'm like, I'm pretty sure I spent 2 hours just doing, or at least an hour and a half, just doing the unpicking and reknitting. And then the rest of the ribbing, you know, the other maybe 10 rows, those took 2 hours total just to do the 10 rows, where I spent 2 hours undoing 1 row instead of just pulling it out. And I don't know, but you live and you learn. At least I know now, if I do drop a stitch, I know how to pick it back up, and if it needs to be a purl, I know how to make it a purl. If it needs to be a knit, I know how to make it a knit. But I couldn't believe that I did that, and I will be paying better attention in the future, or so we say, because I did not pay attention to the fact that I should have changed my needles out. But whatever. This, you know, this is not a pattern. This is just something freehand for myself. And I'm only going to be going from 4.5 to 5. So I think, you know, this far into it, I don't think it's that big of a deal. Also with the width, I mean, I probably could just pull it out, but that's just not, that's just not me. So yeah. But yeah, hopefully, you know, this will be my palette cleanser. I'll work on this and the engagement set, and hopefully finish those both up soon. And then I just have a couple of more acquisitions. So I've already shown the Houston items. These were acquisitions in May. I was in Houston May 15th and 16th. But prior to that, I was, oh yeah, so I guess I can go in date order. So I'm on several email list newsletters, which should probably be taken off, because every time they send an email, I buy something. So the same that I showed previous week, the Lazy Hazy Cotton by Rico Creative Design. I purchased this from Universal Yarn. And I think I purchased that either in March or April when I was doing the Tulsa test. But I'm now on their email list, and they were having a pretty decent sale. And so, sorry if that's noisy. So yeah, May 1st, I purchased some items. Most of them are cotton items. And so I got, in total, I got 10, I have 26 skeins of yarn for $110.60. And I think that's a good deal. So I have enough yarn for at least 4 projects in my size. The first yarn that I got is this Fibra Natura Radiant Cotton, 100% Egyptian cotton. It's 100 grams, 3.5 ounces, 186 meters or 203 yards. And this is color 827 Dusty Apricot. And it's number 3 light DK from Universal Yarn. Machine wash cold, tumble dry, 22 stitches by 28 rows on a 3.75 millimeter yarn needle. Sorry. So that's the label. If they still have it, I will link it, but it seemed like most of the things that were on sale were like clear out, clearance, or at least that's how it was advertised and what I fell for. But it says Dusty Apricot, but it's kind of a beautiful rust color. I don't know, well, I guess parts of apricots are rusty, maybe like the pit. But yeah, so beautiful, 100% Egyptian cotton. I've never worked with Egyptian cotton. I ordered 5 skeins of this, I believe, and then they actually sent a 6th one free, which I, even in my first order from Universal Yarn, they sent an extra hank of yarn in there, and I'm like, I actually emailed them. I'm like, did I get somebody else's order, or is this like a mistake? And they're like, no, that's just a gift for you. So another gift. It just coincidentally matched some of the yarn that I bought. The second cotton yarn I got, which I believe is the same kind as the free gift I got with the Rico Creative yarn. It's Universal Yarn brand Cotton Supreme DK, 3.5 ounce, 100 grams, 230 yards or 210 meters. Also DK, 100% cotton, 21 stitches by 28 rows on a 4 millimeter needle. Machine wash warm, tumble dry. And this is the color navy, color 722. And look how beautiful. Everybody needs a nice navy every once in a while, right? And I think this will make a nice tee or a tank, possibly the Tulsa tee. I think like when I've been shopping lately, especially with the plant-based fibers, with the cotton and such in mind, especially if I'm buying DK, I've been just kind of like buying the amounts of, okay, well, for the Tulsa tee, I use 768 yards, but in my head, I'm thinking 800 yards. So I'm thinking, okay, well, I may not have an exact pattern in mind. Even if I don't, I can make the Tulsa tee or something like it, but I know that I need minimum 800 yards. And so that's kind of how I've been shopping. So I have 5 total skeins in this as well. And then the last, it has the same name as this, but they have different labels. This is also Cotton Supreme DK. This is color 703 beige, 100% cotton. So my phone died. But before it died, I was just saying that I have another Cotton Supreme DK from Universal Yarn in the color 703 beige. Same yardage and everything, same yardage and gauge as the navy one, but this is just a nice beige color. And if you could see, that's what I meant by a different label, but all the details on it are the same. But yeah, nice, beautiful beige for a basic top. Top or tank. Yeah, I'm excited just to have it instead. Well, I've been seeing a lot lately. People are trying to not call it stash. So yarn pantry, yarn collection, yarn closet, yarn nook. So yes, for my yarn nook, just wanted to stash up on some cottons, and I have again total 5 skeins of this. So 5 times 230, 23, 8 plus 10, 1080. 1,080 yards. The last item that I got from Universal Yarn is this Rico Design Fashion Skinny Alpaca Herron, 50 grams, 195 meters. It is 48% alpaca, 25% virgin wool, 20% polyamide, 7% viscose. The gauge is 16 stitches by 24 rows. Oh, that's cool. I didn't notice it before. It estimates, it has a little estimation on the label that shows you for a top, you'll need, I think that's what it's saying, you'll need 350 grams. I think that's what it's saying. And what's the color? No color name. It says Farb, F-A-R-B-E. I assume that means color, 005 color number. And then it says Partie, P-A-R-T-I-E, 83005. No, 83500. I believe that's the lot number, but I'm not sure. What language is this? It looks German. Yeah, I think so. It says Brocco. I think that's where it's from. I'm not sure, but here it is. Here's the label. Rico Fashion Skinny Alpaca. It's this beautiful lavender purple color. There's the Farb and Partie. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, I don't think it will focus on that. But yeah, it's kind of like a mohair. Can I even get one strand? It's so like fluffy and thick together. But yeah, it's kind of like a mohair, but it says Aran weight, Aran weight, A-R-A-N. I guess because of how much fluff there is. I think that this might be a little bit difficult to work with in the sense of like boucle is, where you can possibly like miss a loop or something, but I don't know. I haven't yet worked with mohair. This gives me mohair vibes, so we'll see. I have 10 skeins of this, and did I say what the yardage? Oh yeah, 195 meters, which I think that's about 200 something yards, and I have 10, which should give me about 2,000 something yards. And I believe that I bought this at the time. The patterns that I have on my 2-knit list are like Soho Blouse by Kadri and Cumulus Blouse by Petite Knit. So either one of those patterns, I think that this would work for. And again, that color, it kind of looks like a little bit gray when I hold it up front, but it is a lavender-y purple. And when you look at it, you can kind of see like pinks and blues. The core, of course, is lighter, but pinks and blues and grays and purples, you can see that all within it. So that should look really beautiful knitted up. My final acquisition is another one from my travels. So I mentioned in the first video I filmed, which who knows when that will be posted, but I went to Detroit/Canton, Michigan in April for my aunt's graduation with her master's from University of Michigan. And then in May, we went to Houston for my godbrother's graduation from University of Houston. So in Detroit, there is a knitting store that I've been following for a while now on Instagram. It's called Parker Avenue Knits. I believe the owner's name is Sally. And literally the day that our flight was heading out, I was like, can somebody take me to this yarn store? And so from where my aunt lives, it was maybe like a 30 minutes, I don't remember, drive. Not far. It was in a really nice area. When we pulled up, we were all like, oh, wouldn't mind living here. It was a nice little, cute little neighborhood. It looked like recently redone, and it had like stores underneath like apartment buildings. It was just cute. And when we went in there, they were actually having like a crochet class, crochet flowers class. So I don't want to say it was full, but there was a handful of people in there, maybe like 10 or 12 crafters in there working on stuff together. And so I shopped around a little bit with my aunt and my sister, and my aunt's friend, and I ended up picking out this Barocco vintage in purple. Does it have a color name? No, the color number is 51168, but it's a beautiful, beautiful skein. And I got, I think 5 or 6 of these, and I'm gonna make a sweater, either the Ursina or the Docote sweater, or maybe the Clove sweater by Rachel Kurihara. But I'm not ready to make winter or fall items yet, so I'm just adding these to my collection for now. And then, you know, when I'm over the summer knits, this will probably be one of the first or the top 5 that I break out. Okay, so that is all of my acquisitions. The last thing I wanted to talk about or mention briefly is just what I've been reading and what I've been watching. So for my watching recommendations, or what I've been watching that I really enjoyed, I mentioned we went to see Fast and Furious 10, Fast 10. That was really great. We had a great time in the movies, our family. I also went to see, just this past weekend, on the long weekend for Memorial Day, I went to see Kandahar with Gerard Butler. I went with my parents. That was really great, action-packed movie. Gerard Butler is one of our faves. And then Monday, on Memorial Day, my family, both sisters, my parents and my sister's husband, we all went to see The Little Mermaid, starring Halle Bailey, one of my favorites. I'm so proud of her and everything that she's, you know, accomplishing. Her voice is truly spectacular. My sister Victoria and I, we actually saw them once in New York for their own show, Chloe and Halle. And then again, when they opened for Beyonce, we saw them. So I've loved them since that first show we saw them in New York City. They're both so talented. Their voices are impeccable, and they're great actors and, well, actresses as well. And so I'm excited to see what more they do. I think they really just have a range of talent. So yes, we saw The Little Mermaid. That was excellent. I would recommend that, you know, any and everybody go see it, whether you take your kids or not. I think you can enjoy it all ages. And then on like TV, Netflix and stuff, I've been watching The Mother by Jennifer Lopez. Highly recommend. We really love action, and she like brought the same energy to The Mother that she did in her movie from years and years ago called Enough. That revenge rage, oh, I was feeling it so much. Mama Bear's gotta protect, and I love that. I also watched Queen Charlotte when I was in Houston, start to finish during that weekend. That was excellent as well. Another one on Netflix. Netflix is just my entire list right now as far as watching. Fubar on Netflix, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. That was a surprising show to me. I think it's new to Netflix, and, you know, I never had intention of watching it. I didn't even see trailers, but my dad put it on one night, and we were all surprised by how much we enjoyed it. In that he is Arnold plays a CIA agent that is getting ready to retire, but on his last mission before he retires, he finds out that his daughter is also a CIA agent, and so they end up having to work together to bring down one last terrorist. And it's a pretty funny show. I was happy to see several of the cast members from the Mindy Project show. I don't know their names by heart, but the guy who played Peter on Mindy, he's in the show for a moment. And also, I can't even remember her name on Mindy Project, but she was the sister of one of the doctors that joined the practice later. Blonde hair, curly, a little bit bigger stature, but she's so funny. Anyway, Fubar, great show if you want to laugh, you want a little bit of action. And then Selling Sunset, I started that while I was working from home yesterday, finished it by yesterday evening, chatting with a couple of my coworkers / friends about the show and all of their craziness. If you love a little bit of reality TV nonsense drama, the girls were giving it to us. It was so fun to watch, and we, it was fun to have a little kiki about the issues. I didn't realize that one of Nick Cannon's, the mother of his children, one of them, is on the show as a new realtor to the brokerage. So it was interesting to learn about her and get a little insight into her life. And yeah, that was a great, can't wait for the next season. And then I also started, after, I always get into this like mode on Netflix whenever I finish something, then I'm like, oh, what should I watch next? While I have a plethora of shows on my Netflix queue, I always end up scrolling Netflix for like 30 minutes to an hour, sometimes an hour and a half, just watching trailers of, new or new to me things that you can watch. And so I end up spending longer watching trailers than if I had just picked a show or a movie and watched it. But I really like K-dramas, or I don't want to, is it East Asian? Forgive me if I'm speaking out of turn, but I like those kind of romance or drama or mystery, whatever shows, foreign language shows, I guess you could call it. But yeah, so I was looking for a K-drama to watch, and I landed on, funnily enough, Crash Landing on You, and that features an heiress who an heiress from South Korea accidentally lands in North Korea. And of course, with the conflict between those countries, she has to figure out her way back home. So that has been interesting so far. I think I'm only 2 or 3 episodes in, but I can't wait to finish that. I really like to watch those when I'm knitting as well, if I can. If I'm not doing a too complicated knit, it's fairly simple enough, especially if I'm watching on a bigger TV as opposed to like my iPad or my phone. It's simple enough for me to follow along with the subtitles and still work on a project at the same time. And those shows always, really well developed, really great plot. I love, like, most of the time they like have really great score, or they add music at the right moment, or they use the same like music for different, like the same refrain for certain types of moments in the show. So like similar to how on The Mandalorian on Disney Plus, whenever the Mandalorian's like really kicking butt, they play the Mandalorian theme song, and that's how you know stuff is really about to go down. So they do a similar thing on these K-dramas where like, oh, if it's a romantic moment, or if it's a dramatic moment, or, they use the same music throughout the show that kind of lets you know, like it sets the mood. I love that. So yes, that's what I'm watching. And then what I'm reading, I actually, while I was in Houston, I finished this book, Fake It Till You Bake It by Jamie Wesley. And this is about, this kind of fell in a little bit with my love of like reality TV romance and also sports romance. I love me a good sports romance novel. I love all romance novels, really, but this one features a woman who went on a reality dating show. She was proposed to on the reality show and she turned it down. And then after she turns it down, the whole world is kind of like hating on her. And at the same time, she's looking for something new to do in her life, like a new career essentially, because she thought with the show she would have some career options, but since it didn't end the way that she expected and she's getting more hate than she thought she would, you know, she's a little bit lost, which I can identify with being a little bit lost, you know, I think everyone can. And so she actually runs into a professional football player who owns a bakery with his 3 best friends, who are also professional football players, and she ends up working at his bakery and kind of trying to help him, you know, make his business successful. It was just a really cute, lovely story, very good chemistry. I try to make a point to find Black authors and Black stories, and not just Black, all people of color, but I really love when I find a good, heartfelt, emotional, funny, great chemistry, great romance story by a Black author. Which leads me into my next to read, or what I've been reading. I've been reading the first one is called To Her Rescue. It's a series by Dria Andersen, another Black author, and it's a paranormal shifter romance. So I believe in this one, they are, I've read like 5 of them in the last week. So there were some that were werewolves, not werewolves, but shifter wolves, and others that were like shifter bears. And then she had a different paranormal series that I also read the first one of. But To Her Rescue is what started, and that has a little bit of spice, which we like a little spice. You know, finding your mate, finding your soulmate or your shifter mate. I mean, what's not to love? So that was very good. And then the last to read, I was so surprised to find, it's another series, but the first one is called Abigail's Shop. And the books are by Rachel Herron, Herron, Herron. And that one actually is related to knitting. So in Abigail's Shop, that story is about a woman who inherits a piece of land from one of her friends that passed. One of her friends, an older woman who passed away. And when she goes out to, you know, collect her piece of property, it's actually smack dab in the middle of a larger farm to the nephew of the woman who left her the land. So she became friends with a woman, and when the woman passed, she left both her nephew and this girl land. And so through the course of the story, you know, the nephew's trying to figure out why did the aunt give away, you know, part of his land when he's helped her his whole life. And the girl, she really just misses her friend. They, you know, had a special connection. They both were knitters, and the woman who passed away, she was actually kind of a prolific knitter and pattern writer. And the land that she left them is actually a sheep farm. So it was really cool in the story, you know, over the course of the story. in the house that the girl was left, it's like packed to the brim full of boxes and just junk. And they're like, what is all of this stuff? And so as she's kind of going through everything, she starts to figure out that this woman has over the years collected all of this beautiful yarn and fiber and spinning wheels and everything that this girl basically needs to open up a yarn shop in that house, on that piece of land that she left her. And of course, over the course of the story, the girl falls in love with the nephew. And so I really enjoyed that book. It was a beautiful story, and it kind of showed you how, you know, you can meet someone in your life and, you know, they not really have any connection to you, but ultimately they can have the biggest impact on your life. And maybe they can connect you to someone, you know, that is meant to be in your life forever. It was really great. And so far, I've read 3 out of the series. So Abigail's Shop, Naomi's Wishes or something like that, and then Cora's Heart. And they're all of the main characters, I guess the heroines, the female leads, they're all knitters as well. And I thought that was a really cool aspect to a book. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. I would recommend it. I'm still going to continue with that series. I think there's a couple of more books left. And so I just wanted to share that. Sorry about the beeping, and I don't know if you can hear my spaghetti is boiling. But yes, that's what I've been making, what I've been watching, what I've been reading. Thank you for spending this time with me. Hope that you made it through the entire video. The one other thing I wanted to mention, the acquisitions that I had from the Pearly Girl yarn shop, those were purchased at the store in Houston, but they are also having a closing the store sale on their website, which I actually ordered, and in the next video I'll have acquisitions from them again. But I will share their website link down below. If the sale is still open, you might want to take a look and see if there's something there that you can get on sale that, you know, you've wanted to try or had your eye on, and maybe just support them, you know, as they reach this final stage of their business. They're all lovely women, and I know they would appreciate it. So that's all for today. Hopefully I see you again soon. I hope that you have happy making, happy crafting, that you really take a moment for yourself to breathe and to relax and to just honor whatever it is that you need for that day, for that moment. And that you're also just as kind, just as nurturing, just as gentle with those that you come in contact with, whether they're your friends, your family, or a stranger on the street. Be gentle with yourself, be gentle with others, and enjoy. Have a good one. Bye.
about things that I finished, things that I've been working on, and things that I bought recently. Yeah, so let's get on with the video. You guys know one of my goals this year, or I guess all of my life, is to read more. And I just want to say thank you so much